Hello fantasy managers and welcome back to another video from myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. In this video we're going to be having a look at what to do with Manchester United and Man City assets. Obviously they blank in game week 1, so there's a couple of different strategies that you could take. Well, actually a few different strategies. At the one end of the scale you could look to pretty much ignore them in game week 1 and then use your transfers in the following game weeks to begin to bring them into your side. The second potential route is to bench one or potentially even two of their players going into game week 1. And the third potential route is actually to wildcard, either in game week 2 or game week 3. I'm going to have a look at all those strategies, weigh up the pros and cons, and also explain the strategy that I'm going for in my team. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get into it, I'm trying really hard to reach 25,000 subscribers, producing a lot of quality content for you. So please, if you have been enjoying the content, please just hit that subscribe button and like the video as well, because it doesn't cost you anything. Okay, so the first thing to just have a look at is, of course, the Fantasy Football Hub fixture ticker. And as you can see, Manchester City coming out bottom there. They do have that blank in game week 1. Then they have a tricky match against Wolves away from home. Then it gets a little bit easier after that. Leeds at home, Leicester away, Arsenal at home. Still not home sailing, but they are Manchester City, so you're going to expect them to win most of those matches. Having a look at Manchester United, obviously they do blank in game week 1, but then if you switch over and have a little bit of a look further out, even up to game week 9, they actually have the best fixtures of any team. Had they faced Crystal Palace, Brighton, Spurs, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton and West Brom. So really nice run of fixtures there. And for me, I think that targeting them in game week 2, especially for that Crystal Palace match, makes a lot of sense. Rather than, Manchester City playing Wolves away from home, I think Manchester United are probably the team to target in game week 2, and I think Manchester City are probably the team to target in game week 3. So as I've kind of hinted at there, I'm not going to be ignoring Manchester City or Manchester United assets. I do think that there are better times to bring them in. Whether you have one of them on your bench, I think probably 2 is a little bit too much, but potentially whether you have one of them on your bench is a really interesting debate and an interesting strategy actually. I'm currently leaning towards having one of them on my bench. Okay, moving over to Ben Crellin's planning sheet. Now, this thing is absolutely insane. I highly recommend checking it out. It is a Fantasy Football Hub member resource, but it's very useful. I'll leave a link in the description if you are interested in checking it out. You don't need a planner, certainly for this stage of the season, though. But I'm just kind of using this because it's a really good way of visualizing your team. But, planners are very useful, especially when it comes to the crucial double game week season. So if you do want to access Ben's sheet, then I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, so this is my current draft team. And again, if you want to check out my latest draft video, I'll leave a link in the description. I've just made one change from that, and that is to remove Vinagre for Mitchell. I've currently got 0.5 in the bank because of that move. I will be revealing my final draft on YouTube, of course, so please make sure to subscribe if you want to check that out. So you may have noticed that I do have Bruno Fernandes in my team, and that's pretty much because I want him in game week 2. They play Crystal Palace at home. I am pretty certain that I'm going to be captaining Bruno Fernandes in that match. The other good captain in that match is, of course, Aubameyang playing West Ham at home. So I'm going to be captaining one of those guys, but I do want Bruno Fernandes in my team from game week 2. So as you can see, Aubameyang here, he's got 2 plum fixtures, Fulham away and West Ham at home. Now after that West Ham fixture, I'm currently looking to transfer Aubameyang out in that game week 3. So obviously, this plan's not set in stone, but nevertheless, I think it is it's good to have an idea of the transfers that you could potentially make. And the player that I'm of course looking to bring in game week 3 is Kevin De Bruyne. Now, as you can see, Kevin De Bruyne's fixtures from game week 3 are pretty strong. So that's the kind of move that I'm thinking of making. So in game week 3, I'll have Bruno Fernandes and Kevin De Bruyne in my team. Pretty much the 2 main men from Manchester United and Manchester City I'll have in my team. They're both on penalties. They're both on a lot of set pieces. They both are a goal threat. They both are assist threat. They've both got multiple sources of scoring points. So those are the 2 players that I want in my team from Manchester United and from Manchester City. Obviously, there are other players. You could look at Greenwood, you could look at Rashford, you could look at Martial from Manchester United, from Manchester City, obviously Sterling, obviously Foden, even Aguero potentially. So there are a lot of different options. But for me, the 2 picks that I want are Bruno Fernandes and Kevin De Bruyne. Now you might be thinking, why don't you just start with someone like Heung-min Son and then transfer to Fernandes in game week 2? And I think that's a pretty good strategy, to be honest. I can't argue too much against it, and it isn't something that I've ruled completely out myself even. But the reason I'm not doing it is, everyone's saying, Son only needs to score 4 points. to justify a hit to Fernandes. Well, that's not strictly true, of course, because Mitchell is the player that would be in there instead of Son, and he's probably going to score at least 2 points, you would hope, potentially even get a clean sheet. So Son's got to score 4 more points than Mitchell, and I think there's a chance he does that for sure, but I think that that's far from guaranteed. Obviously, you could do Bruno Fernandes in game week 2, Kevin De Bruyne in game week 3. You've got your transfers mapped out, and I can understand that logic as well. But, I know for a fact that this team that I picked, not all of them are going to be good picks. So for me, it's really about, having certain price points, being flexible to move to a player in game week 2 and not having necessarily to take a hit. So that's currently why I've got Fernandes in my team. I will be able to bring in another player in game week 2. As I said, I don't really know who that player is, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wanting to make a transfer in game week 2. And if I don't make a transfer in game week 2, brilliant. I can save one and I can make a double transfer in game week 3, potentially even bringing in 2 Manchester City players. And I know some people are thinking about playing the wild card in game week 2 and effectively treating game week 1 like a free hit. Personally, I know I'd advise against that. Obviously with everything that's happening with COVID, having that wild card in your back pocket is absolutely crucial. Even if you can save it till game week 16, which is when the last time you can use that wild card, then there's likely to be some important blanks and doubles, a couple of game weeks after that. So you can set your team up for those blanks and doubles. Obviously, if your team is in a mess, then you can also use your wild card earlier, because obviously you don't want to be too far behind when it comes to game week 16. So that's my current thinking. I don't want to play an early wildcard if I can avoid it. What I would say though is don't take this as absolute gospel. If you fancy Martial to do well, then you could potentially bench him. You could also go for in game week 1 and then transfer him to Martial, having 1 million in the bank. There's a whole range of different strategies you could do for this. But there we go, that's my early season transfer strategy. If you do want to become a Hub member, there's only a few days left to take advantage of our 25% off. I'll leave a link in the description and in the information card above. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please drop a like on the video. Bye for now.